off limits, man. Okay, calm down.
Well, I think that the whole anti-Semitism narrative is really falling flat, especially with this latest genocidal onslaught, because of how many anti-Zionist Jews are out in the streets leading so many direct actions. It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. I was just arrested alongside 19 Jewish allies in Portland. It was really powerful, and it was done in solidarity with the international court proceedings with South Africa. But Katie, you know, as our resident anti-Zionist Jew, I want to turn this to you because, you know, this is all that they've relied on forever. You're anti-Semitic if you dare to criticize.
Or self-loathing Jew. Yeah.
Israel, and as Mohammed al-Kurd would say, it's like, why is it our fault that Israel's decided to don like the Star of David on all of its insignia and then act completely insanely fascist and genocidal? Like, why is that our fault? Why do we have to denounce what they're like, that they represent Judaism? But that's always been the trope. It's always been, we're on the defense, right? We have, because we're anti-racists, because we're anti-bigots, and so we always felt like, no, like that's so offensive. It's so offensive, and now I have to explain myself why I'm not an anti-Semite if I care about human rights and if I'm speaking out about this thing. But the narrative does not stick anymore because you have millions of Jewish people leading these actions. But if you look at an organization like the Anti-Defamation League, they'll just say, you're not a Jew. You're not a Jew, Katie. Yeah. How does that make you feel?
They've stripped Katie of her Judaism.
Yeah. Well, luckily I don't define myself according to the ADL. But, you know, they have classified Jewish Voice for Peace as a hate group, the ADL. No. Yeah, yeah. So when they're giving statistics, yeah, and obviously Students for Justice in Palestine, but yeah, JVP, and we know they're actually like spying on them because there was this leaked audio of Jonathan Greenblatt talking about how we have analysts in their groups. He's talking about Students for Just Palestine and JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace. But when everyone should know that when they're giving their numbers about anti-Semitic attacks or hate crimes, that can include like a protest in Grand Central Station organized by Jewish Voice for Peace.
Yeah, graffiti saying Free Palestine.
Yeah, and it's so infuriating because there is anti-Semitism and entities like the ADL are actually creating more anti-Semitism and making people take real anti-Semitism less seriously because they're so used to people calling things that aren't anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism. And of course, you know, the irony is that the ADL and AIPAC and the Israeli government always claim that Israel is what keeps Jews safe, but Israel is making Jews in danger. Like, what could make me as a Jew more nervous about my own safety? I mean, I oppose what Israel's doing in Palestine for moral reasons, but also just in terms of being a Jew, like, I don't want them to be the face of Jewry. Like, they are genocidal and they're doing things that are awful and they're being broadcast. Like, why would that make me feel any safer? And I think it is getting harder to conflate Zionism and anti-Semitism, in part because there are a lot of Jewish anti-Zionists out there. But I also think it's interesting because, you know, the idea that being anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic, that in itself is an anti-Semitic trope. Because that's like the loyalty oath. That's the idea that all Jews are this monolith who support Israel. So I feel like we should be calling the ADL and AIPAC and Israel anti-Semitic. Because they're the ones who are...
Can I tell a little story that I think like reinforces what you're saying? First of all, I do want to say the ADL did a survey in 2014 of anti-Semitism. Guess where? They measured anti-Semitism in the West Bank and Gaza with questions, with questions like, oh, do you think Jews have too much control?
Right. It's like asking black people during Jim Crow, like
in Gaza, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure most people are like, yeah, this apartheid state that privileges them and their bodies.
As we live under a fascist military dictatorship.
And then they'll go back and say, but they're saying Jews, not Israelis, as if Israel doesn't conflate the two things in the first place. And that's what they mean when they say Jews. They mean Israelis.
So in 1982, when the Israelis invaded Lebanon, they invaded the area where my grandmother's house was. And my uncle was a part of an organization, a political party that the Israelis consider terrorists because anybody who fights Israel is considered terrorists, and they were part of the groups fighting Israel at the time. And so they went to his house specifically to find the terrorist. Of course, he wasn't there because he's not stupid. But my grandmother went back to check on the house. I grew up hearing this story from her. She went back to check on the house, and there were Israeli soldiers there who someone had taken a shit. They like to take shits in the houses of Arabs, and sometimes they smear them on the walls. That's like a common thing. In this case, they hadn't smeared it. They just took a shit in her house.
That was very considerate of them.
She was very, very angry, and she like yelled at them, and she claims she made them clean it up, and I'm just gonna believe that. But anyways, they also, of course, everywhere they do what they do, they draw a Star of David. So this is what people in neighboring countries and neighboring colonized territories by the Israelis experience, is they experience this symbol of Judaism as a hate symbol. And you know, when I was like a kid, one of the first times I remember being in Lebanon, I was like maybe 7 years old. I think I told you the story. I was just like drawing shapes with my cousin. And she was like, "Can you draw a star?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can draw a star." I thought I had the secret to drawing a star because I could just draw 2 triangles and like skip the actual drawing a star part. So I drew 2 triangles together, not thinking anything of it. And she goes, "Oh!" And I'm like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" Because it's like a Star of David. I didn't realize it. And then she goes and gets her mom, and her mom comes and she's like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "Oh no, what did I do?" I like didn't understand what I did. And then she explained to me, "This is on the flag of the people who bomb us." And that, I mean, that alone says so much. It's like, how do you expect people around you to view you're the religion you're claiming to represent in a positive way when you put it as your graffiti, you put it on your flag, you put it on your weapons, and you bomb them?
And then you have the forced isolation where it's like you go into the West Bank and there's massive red signs like, "Do not enter this area, you will be killed," because it's all projection about like you are in danger. You know, it's
if you're like outside, if you're like a white person or a Jewish person.
Basically, and it's just it's so offensive, and it's such a juvenile narrative that all of this is driven by anti-Semitism.
Wow, Abby, watch it. Anti-Semitism.
Do you condemn Hamas?
Here, yeah.
Do you condemn Hamas?
You know what I'm dealing with?
No, I just want to say really quickly. I remember in Oakland there was like a children's exhibit of, you know, kids in Gaza. Obviously, they've had so much trauma generationally. Like every couple of years, they're just bombed and, you know, limbless and all of these horrific things. And there was a children's exhibit of just children's drawings. And there was a couple of them that had Stars of David on like soldiers' uniforms and planes that were bombing them. And the exhibit was too controversial. It was taken down, and it was deemed anti-Semitic from 10-year-olds. They were depicting their reality. That's how insulting this is. It's just, it really does feel like we are all treated like children. I mean, and all of this rhetoric is designed to placate us because Israel relies on us for bombs and to subsidize their healthcare. And so
not
it's just
ours, not our healthcare.
Yeah, no, we're healthcare less. We get the shit end of the stick. But no, Israelis are living large. I mean, they have our money. We feed them bombs, and then they use that insultingly stupid rhetoric on us, where it's all human shields. Hamas is doing this to themselves. Like, I mean, we can see, they're just basically saying, "Don't believe your lying eyes," and I think it's not working anymore. I think Israel's on its last gasp.
Well, there's some people it's working on, because I see these delusional white people who think they're Middle Eastern. Like, what is Katie? Explain this to me. Explain the whites who think that they're Middle Eastern.
Wait, Katie's not indigenous to Israel?
I'm indigenous to the Upper West Side. That's what I'm.
Okay.
That is my Jerusalem. Yeah. Well, I think are you trying to nudge us into the direction of showing someone we really love and respect, Debra Messing. Let's take a look at her with, sorry, trigger warning, everyone. You can leave if you want to leave. We'll
Everybody
give you a couple seconds. Yeah.
Show
Will and Grace. And here she is talking to Noah Tishby, who is an Israeli actress who's doing a lot of great
You guys, it's really touching.
PR work.
It's really touching.
Everyone
okay, she's coming home.
Grab your
She's
handkerchiefs
home.
and your tissues. All right, let's take a look.
Beautiful moment.
Feel safer here? Why? Because you're home. It really is. It really is.
She's fucking crying.
I don't want to go. I don't want to leave.
I want to go ethnically cleanse a Palestinian home.
Another close friend and people from the people that are here in Israel this time is Debra. Thank you for being here as well. Oh, it's a gift.
It's a
It's a
gift.
gift to me.
Hope she brought her sunscreen, because she's actually Polish and Russian.
People I've ever met in my entire life.
Israel does have one of the highest skin cancer rates in the world.
The
It's true.
optimism,
It's so weird
the resilience,
for indigenous people
the
to
courage.
not get along with their indigenous environment.
Literally, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
What? Never seen anything
And
like
the
what?
love. And the love. The love.
The love.
Fascism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel at home. I'm with my
Look,
Nazi.
she's meeting with the
fault.
president who said that all targets are legitimate. That's so loving.
I like how she's wearing kind of like a keffiyeh-y, like
Yeah, she's co-opting the keffiyeh.
Noah.
the state of Israel.
Yeah, that's so touching.
Our right to exist. Our rights to exist. Sounds basic, right? It's
very
simple. It's very simple.
I mean, I
What's
guess when
Very simple. Our right to exist.
Islam. Hi.
Our
Noah-
right
Noah
to
Tishby-
exist
sorry.
by no.
I mean, yeah, I mean, our right to exist on principle of continuous ethnic cleansing of the indigenous population. So,
right. The idea that that's existence
no,
is
that's,
so dangerous.
you don't have a divine right to do that. And also, Noah Tishby claimed, I mean, she's like the liaison of the Israeli government, which is hilarious. She has this book being like, "A Idiot's Guide to Israel,"
Which
is
is
just like the
is
face of
relevant
liberal
to her.
Zionism.
Yeah, she would know.
But she's like, I don't work for Netanyahu. She's like, I did.
Right. Totally independent.
It's like, yeah, I mean, it's
rogue agent.
It's sick.
Well, you know, it's also funny because there's that guy who was Phoebe's cop boyfriend in Friends. I don't know his name. Michael Rapaport.
The guy who hit by a snowball?
Yeah, you got it.
Hot?
No,
That
I didn't say hot. I said there's that guy. I'm just
said Phoebe's hot
noting that
boyfriend.
these like
No, he's
C
not
and
hot.
D list
I know.
actors
Oh, Michael Rapaport.
just
yeah.
want to like get attention.
Brett
So they're like,
Gelman.
oh, I know what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'll like support Israel during a genocide, and someone will post a video of me, and it will go viral.
It's like
Chelsea
Clint
Handler,
Eastwood at the
Chelsea
RNC. It's like Scott Baio and Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chelsea
they have
Han-
no one,
Chelsea
right?
Handler's like, remember me? I still exist. I support genocide. Please remember
She's
me.
like-
And Amy Schumer's like, remember
Oh my
Martin
God.
Luther King?
Yeah.
God.
And then Martin Luther King's daughter was like, "You need to shut your mouth." She didn't say that. She was much nicer, but she
basically-
said
she
like, "My
basically
father would
said
be
that.
supporting a ceasefire." And Amy Schumer kept up her pinned tweet, which was trying to weaponize.
Just like he did
Martin
in
Luther King.
Vietnam, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
like he did in Vietnam.
Right, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
world hated him. I mean,
Right.
the U.S. hated him, let's be clear.
And a lot of liberals hated him
Yeah.
too.
Amy Schumer actually did
my
this
God.
one segment or like sketch.
I'm glad she fell on her head. Didn't she fall on her
Oh,
head?
I don't know.
Or
I thought that
something?
was like an onion joke.
No, I think she actually fell on her neck or
Well,
something.
she did this.
I mean, I'm non-violent, but that's still entertaining.
When she had her Comedy Central show, she did like this one episode about white girls and how they think everything in the universe is about them. And I feel like this would apply so well to Amy Schumer,
Right.
2024 or 2023 or whatever.
She's a notorious joke stealer.
She's like
too.
turned into the person
She
she
steals
used to
everything.
mock. She steals everything and
Land,
Land,
Palestinian
Palestinians'
land,
homes, jokes.
You know, actually, not that I'm calling her Israeli.
Hillary
but I think
Clinton's
she kind of
pantsuits.
She was scared for her child. I think.
Yeah,
I was like,
that
do you think
they were gonna-
paragliders are coming to Beverly Hills?
I think she lives in New York City?
No, I think she lives
Oh,
in
she
Beverly
lives in
Hills.
Beverly
There's
Hills.
enough goddamn
her
hostage
cousin who
posters in
lives-
LA that I honestly got confused. I thought that I was in Israel. I was
Right.
like, oh, who do
don't.
I call?
We're
I
on
think
the
I see one
recording.
right here. Like, is there a number? I mean, it's very strange.
Well, but the idea of stealing, like Israelis do kind of steal everything. They steal land, they steal the food, they even steal their organs. Like there's a skin bank. Israel has one of the biggest skin banks in the world, probably because they have to like test skin cancer treatments on skin because they get it so much because a lot of them are white and not indigenous to the land. But they do have the biggest skin bank, and it's mostly Palestinian. A lot of countries have skin banks, but theirs is mostly Palestinian skin. So I'm just kind of like at a point where, do you want to just be Palestinians? Like, I don't know. You're stealing their skin, you're stealing their organs, you're stealing their land, you're stealing their food. Like, do you just want to be them?
Yeah.
Maybe we should just let them have a day where they
Just be,
pass as Palestinian, then we could avoid all this bloodshed.
yeah.